Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel and welcome to my new lesson on political ideas and ideologies associated with the left, right, liberalism and conservatism. I would also like to ask you to click like and to subscribe to my channel. Speaking about contemporary politics, it would be very, very difficult to speak about contemporary politics without mentioning or without running into these terms such as left, right, liberals, conservatives, radicals, modernists, and other such terms. Now, I'm also noticing that many people, especially in the United States, like to associate themselves with these type of terms. I know that people are very proud sometimes to say, hey, I'm a liberal or I'm conservative, but usually they use these terms, left and right, when they blame one another. A lot of times people will say, don't listen to these, they're far left, or these are far right. So even though we use these terms in contemporary politics, and even though political scientists use them to classify different political ideas and ideologies, interestingly, many people are actually not familiar with this terminology, okay? I mean, for example, people might say, hey, I'm a conservative, but without even knowing what conservative is and what conservative parties or the parties of conservative spectrum actually stand for or what they represent. So let's take a look at it. First of all, let's start with this political ideologies, left, right, and how these terms actually emerged in the history. Whoever went to school, at least elementary school, has probably heard about French Revolution. French Revolution, it was a great event in our history that changed the history of the world and that very much changed the societies throughout the world. And this is the first time that popular sovereignty overthrew absolute monarchy. In other words, people overthrew a king who had total power in France back then, and that was King Louis XVI. After the monarchy was overthrown, then France became a republic. That's the difference between monarchy and republic. Monarchy is a political system, or let's say, simply explained, country that's ruled by a king, or a queen, or a czar, or a sultan, or any monarch or royal. Republic is opposite. Republic is a political system or the country that's ruled by the people, such as the United States, for example. Monarchy, for example, would be Great Britain. And also, speaking about monarchies throughout the world, keep in mind that there are two different types of monarchies, constitutional monarchy and absolute monarchy. Most of monarchies in the world today, like Great Britain, Spain, for example, Norway, are constitutional monarchies because the country is ruled by the constitution, no longer by the king or the queen. King and the queen in those countries are symbols of the country, just like a flag or a national anthem, but they don't have any political power. Absolute monarchy means that the system is solely based on the monarch, so that the ruling family makes the decisions. One example, and I believe that would be the only, I'll say the only for now, the only absolute monarchy in the world would be Saudi Arabia, for example. And many countries throughout the world are republics. For example, the United States is a republic, Russia is a republic, Germany is a republic, So back to French Revolution. Yes, after the French Revolution, the king was overthrown and the country became a republic. And National Assembly was introduced. In some countries, National Assembly is known as Parliament, or in the United States is known as Congress, especially the House of the Representatives. So National Assembly became a governmental body where representatives elected by the people would gather together and decide on how the country will be run, how the country will be organized. So people made decisions. However, right after French Revolution, it was not that easy to invite people to this National Assembly, to this building, because this is what would happen. Still, many people in France supported the royalty, and they did support the king. So when they would come to the National Assembly building, those who supported the king would normally sit on the right side, okay? That would be right here. Clergy, okay, them too, they would also associate with those who supported the king and the monarchy. So normally they would sit on the right. Those who supported the revolution and opposed the king and the monarchy would normally sit on the left side. And those who were kind of undecided or who did support removal of the king, but not the monarchy in general, would most likely sit in the middle. So as you can see, the political ideologies associated with the left and right are more about seating arrangements rather than political ideologies. So those on the right, those who supported the king and the monarchy, who opposed the revolution, who did not want to make any changes in French society, became known as conservatives. Conserve means not to change anything. Those who sat on the left and those who opposed the king and the monarchy and who wanted France to be a republic rather than monarchy became known as liberals, liberty. So this is how it works. In the middle of political spectrum, we have status quo. Status quo means situation as it is. Okay, so conservatives are the people who are satisfied with status quo and they are not willing to change anything. Throughout the history, you'll see that many conservatives were those who supported aristocrats, who supported the kings and queens, who supported the church. They were not willing to change a lot of things in their society. So they wanted to conserve society. So that's conservatism. In the United States, for example, you'll see that many conservatives tend to be more religious than liberals, for example. Many of them would like to stick to the original constitution. For example, if the Second Amendment says freedom to bear arms, then yes, let's keep it that way. Let's not put any restrictions on guns or arms sale. So conservatives, keep in mind, they would like to conserve society and keep things as they are. They are satisfied with the status quo. And they are on the right spectrum. On the left spectrum, we have liberals. Liberals are people who are not satisfied with status quo, which means they are not satisfied with the current situation, and they would like to change something about society. They would like to introduce new things. Just like in France after the French Revolution. Yes, liberals wanted to make France a republic, no longer monarchy. In the United States, for example, you'll see that liberals were those who opposed or were more likely to oppose racial segregation back in 1950s and 1960s. Founding fathers of the United States, for example, they were liberals. They wanted to get rid of monarchy. They wanted to form a new country and wanted that new country, the United States of America, to be a republic, no longer monarchy. Royalists, or loyalists, those who remained loyal to King George III, were conservatives. They did not want to change anything. So that's the major difference between liberals and conservatives. Conservatives are satisfied with status quo. Liberals are not. They would like to bring something new, okay? Now, keep in mind that in the middle, we have moderates. Sometimes we like to say the parties of the center. The parties in the middle, the parties of the center, they are kind of a little bit of both. They are generally speaking, they are satisfied with the status quo, but they might like to see some small minor changes. And if those changes don't get implemented or not approved, then they'll be fine with that. So those are moderates. In the United States politics, we like to say that the senator from West Virginia, I always forget his name, but anyway, yeah, he's a Democrat, but a lot of times he affiliates himself with Republicans. So he's kind of a little bit of both. So we would say that he's a moderate or he's the centrist. Okay. Now, we have a far left and far right. Okay, far means also extreme. So what does it mean to be far left or far right? First of all, both liberals and conservatives in the United States, let's say Republicans are conservatives, liberals are Democrats are liberals, they would like to implement policies and changes in accordance with the law. That means they will come to a Congress, they will vote on it, discuss on it, and if the legislation passes, then they'll be fine with that. If the legislation fails, they'll be fine with that too. However, extreme left and extreme right, those are groups that would like to bring changes or protect status quo by all means necessary. That even includes violence. okay? When we hear the terms far left or far right or extreme right, then primarily we think on terrorists, for example. Terrorists, yes, they are willing to plant bombs, they are willing to assassinate people, to organize a revolution. They always look for quick radical changes. That's the reason why far left is known as radical and far right is usually known as reactionaries. But you can also call them radicals as well. Radical means someone who wants quick, sudden change with all means necessary. And as I have said, yes, terrorist group, violent groups are usually fall into this category. Now, one example of far left would be communism, especially communism as envisioned by Karl Marx. I mean, if you read the Communist Manifest by Karl Marx, you know that he finishes his Communist Manifest with famous slogan, proletarians throughout the world unite, okay? And he calls for revolution, okay? He's not calling for democracy. He's not telling people to protest, but he tells them, hey, you know, a revolution is the only way to change things in our society. Far right, good example of the far right would be fascism, such as Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, for example. Terrorist groups such as like ISIS, for example, they would also be far right, especially, let's say, fundamentalists. For example, they would like to bring the times of Prophet Muhammad. They would like to live in the same way as Prophet Muhammad and the people at that time lived. Like, for example, Talibans, they eliminated electricity, they banned radio stations, TV stations. They also banned playing soccer, other sports. They ordered people to wear beards, women had to be covered, you know. So literally they returned to the past. Now, that's also another thing to keep in mind about reactionaries, or I mean, far right and far left. Far left would like to bring changes, would like to change something by bringing or introducing something new. Far right, when they decide to protect something or introduce something, then they would like to bring something from the past. So sometimes people on, or those who are on the left side of the political spectrum are known as progressives. Those on the right side may be known as retrogressives. So this is one way to explain political spectrum. Now, also here is another way to explain political spectrum. So what we just spoke about was, I mean, I like to call it horizontal line, but we can also stick to a vertical line or social scale. When political parties preach or insist on freedom or decision-making to be given to the people, they might be known as liberations, okay? Now, if they preach and claim how the power should be made by the ruling class or by a small group of people, then we have authoritarian political spectrum or political parties. Authoritarian can also be assimilated or replaced with terms such as a totalitarian regime, a dictatorship, or absolute monarchy. So that's the reason why they're at the top. You know, usually ruling class is at the top, people are down at the bottom. So I hope that with this video, I was able to explain a little bit how political spectrum works and what these terms mean: left, right, liberals, conservatives, radicals, reactionaries, far left and far right. So again, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel for more of these lessons. So thank you very much, and thank you for listening to my lesson. Have a good day.